and welcome to our Sunday school class. We are going to finish off talking about the healings of Jesus, and then we have some other miracles that he's done that we're going to get into. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. We're going to go to Mark 7. We start Mark 7, 32 through 37. Some of these, the ones that I believe that we're about to do, a lot of the miracles aren't always talked about. There's like only the certain ones that you really hear about and everything. And then
there's only certain ones that the account is long and memorable enough for us to even be able to talk about it.
Yes.
That's it again,
Mark 7, 32 through 37.
You can go ahead.
And they bring unto him one that was deaf and had an impediment in his speech, and they beseech him to put his hand upon him. And he took him aside from the multitude, and put his fingers into his ears, and he spit and touched his tongue. And looking up to heaven he sighed, and saith unto him, Ephphatha. What? Ephphatha? There's two PHPHs.
I think that was the sound of him. I think that was him spitting. That's the sound. It's just that's the sound he made.
Ephphatha, that is, be open. And straightway his ears were opened, and the string of his tongue was loosed, and he spake plain. And he charged them that they should tell no man, but the more he charged them, so much the more a great deal they published it. And were beyond measure astonished, saying, He hath done all things well. He maketh both the deaf to hear and the dumb to speak.
Okay, see, this is not a miracle that you've really...
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, because everybody else is like the dog under the
he
table.
put his fingers in his ears.
Right before that.
And then he spit in the man's mouth?
Yeah.
Or
no,
did he spit and then touch his tongue?
Put his fingers into his ears and he spit and touched his tongue.
What does that mean? But his fingers were in the guy's ears.
Yeah, he put him in his ears, took him out, and then
he gave him wet willy, and then he
made him taste earwax.
I don't know what that is.
See, this is the thing: is everybody remembers the Jesus walking on the water, Jesus, and the Jesus saying, "Look, little children, come to me," and he loving guy. And then there's the guy who spits in the guy's, he makes clay, puts it on his eyes, and then he spits in the guy's mouth.
Hey, no, it didn't say he spit in his mouth.
It
said he spit and touched his tongue.
That's the same thing.
So,
it's probably,
I don't know. But, you know,
was it unnecessary?
It's not a miracle that is very well known.
Maybe it had nothing to do. He just touched his tongue, but he like had spat like right before. And then,
I don't know.
It's not like he was getting anybody sick. I mean, Jesus probably wouldn't be carrying germs.
And he wasn't even blind this time. He knew what was going on. He was probably like before he was blind, he didn't know what was going on. He's just like, well, who's touching my eyes with clay? And then this guy, he's like, he knows what happened. He's like, what are you doing?
That's interesting.
Yes, very much so.
I think it's interesting that they say that he was deaf and had an impediment in his speech, because a lot of times with people who are hearing impaired, that like goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it does. It goes together.
I think it's just because and you don't know what other people sound like when they're saying words, so you don't know how to form them.
Well, it's true too, though. But if you were born with hearing and go deaf, then it makes sense that your speech kind of sounds different.
Yeah.
But if you're born deaf, you're
learning everything.
Whereas if you were like, I know somebody that was born that they can see, but they got sick and went blind.
Wow.
And so that's just like,
you have to relearn everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've never heard of this miracle until today.
Me neither.
That's why we're studying about them.
Right. I've probably read it before, but I haven't.
Yeah, I've never heard of that word. Ephphatha? Is it
Ephphatha?
Is it Ephphatha or
Ephphatha?
Ephphatha. I think I've heard somebody say that before about something.
It says be open.
Ephphatha.
Yeah, it's like the Hebrew doorman at the hotel. And he opens the door, and he opens the door for you. Or maybe it's like the Hebrew version of Alibaba with the open sesame, but that's the open sesame of Hebrew.
Yeah. So this is a miracle that I've never probably heard of, but wasn't one that stuck in my mind at all, because they don't always.
He spake plain.
Plain.
talk about some of the smaller miracles that Jesus did.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is, definitely. Especially with COVID, you don't want to hear this one around.
But
now.
see, look, you know what? He wasn't born. It didn't say they bring unto him one that was born deaf. He just said they bring unto him one that was deaf.
Well, yeah, because there was nobody around asking, who's saying that this man was born deaf? So he
Right.
probably wasn't born deaf.
Well,
that
and
would
you
make way more
notice
sense
too,
'cause
though.
he
You know
couldn't hear
what?
them.
You notice too, though, that it says, and they beseeched him to put his hand upon him. They took him aside from the multitude. He didn't do it in the midst of them.
Yeah,
He
that's
pulled him
probably-
to the side.
Yeah, because he didn't want to see him spitting in his mouth.
Well, no.
He didn't.
I mean,
It's the
honestly,
same thing.
if
not.
I was deaf and this guy opened my ears, I wouldn't want to be surrounded by a bunch of screaming
No,
people.
you would not.
Wow.
I think that's probably why
I mean,
he,
yeah.
why he took him aside, because he knew he was going to be overwhelmed.
With the sounds.
Yeah.
I think it was because he didn't want to see people spin on his finger, put on his
Well,
tongue.
we're looking at this on the other way.
Anyway.
Okay, the next one is Luke. I'm hoping this is 22.
The entire reference
Right.
is in Roman numerals.
50. Okay, Luke does have almost 70 something verses, more than
Yeah.
70 something.
Yeah.
50 through 51.
Yeah,
Luke.
servant of the high priest.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
And when they were about him,
Wait.
saw what they would fall. It's the verse. Where were we starting?
50.
Oh, I was starting with the verse before that.
No. 50.
It has.
Go ahead and just read it. Go
They
ahead.
said unto him, Lord, shall we smite with a sword? And one of them smote the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. And Jesus answered and said, Suffer ye thus far. And he touched his ear and healed him.
And it's only in Luke.
Which
No, it can't.
which
be.
ear do you think
I thought
he touched?
Didn't it say it was Peter in a different place, or was that just?
Didn't
No, this is only in Luke.
I think
This is a different one. This is not. Because if you read the story.
where do you think he touched his ear? Do you think he touched the ear that was
No,
on the
he picked
ground?
it up. He picked it up and then put it back on.
Do you think he just like touched it and it was back, or do you think he touched the bloody cavity, or
Did it grew back? No.
just a question?
I don't
Yeah, it has
Let me
it.
check
It has
John.
it in John.
Well, hold on.
Where?
That's what I'm about to look too. I'm like,
John 10.
wait. This one
Not
is
John
only.
10.
Oh, sorry, John 18:10. Look at the
Luke,
verse.
this one is only mentioned the high priest servant.
Yeah, it's in.
I'll check the
Oh,
first
no,
two
it's
books.
it's in
Luke.
John.
It is in John. Where in John?
John or chapter 18, verse 10.
Okay,
Yeah,
wait.
it's in all of them. It's in Matthew.
Then why does it's not? I honestly look. I'm looking at this.
Yeah, they could have gotten it wrong.
That's
The
weird.
Bible is wrong. You know.
No,
Wow,
it's
don't
not
say
the
that.
it's not the Bible. It's their references.
Yeah.
Where recorded is not right. Okay, so
I'll do John, I guess.
John
sometime here.
18. Yeah, go ahead.
Wait, start with Matthew.
Oh,
It's in Matthew 26.
well you do John and I'll do Matthew.
Okay, and I'm still finding Mark.
Okay, Matthew 26. What?
50.
Yeah, you find more.
Okay, so let's see.
Okay.
And behold, one of them which were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. Then said Jesus unto him, Put up again thy sword into place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Thinkest thou that I cannot pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then shall the scripture be fulfilled that thus it must be? Is that the same thing? Was I supposed to just stop
Yeah.
at 52?
No.
Okay.
It's all. It's
In
all
that
the
same hour said Jesus to the multitudes, Are ye come out as Are ye come out as against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you teaching in the temple, and ye laid no hold on me. But all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled.
So this doesn't mention the healing. It just mentions.
No, it does. No, it doesn't.
The slicing.
It just talks about.
Slice.
I like that word.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
it just talks about him cutting off the ear. It doesn't. Matthew does not mention him healing the ear.
No.
Ah.
Mark 14:40. It's
He
probably because
he forsook him.
they ran. He ran.
Yeah, he
first.
ran.
Ah!
What is it, Mark? What?
14:47.
Okay.
And one of them that stood by drew a sword and smote a servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. And Jesus answered and said to them, Are you come out as against a thief with swords and with staves to take me? I sat daily with you in the temple teaching, and he took me not, but the scriptures must be fulfilled, and they all forsook him and fled.
It's
Okay.
Also does not
So
mention
that, you
Yeah,
know what?
that's so funny.
Who had, you're doing John, right?
John probably stayed.
Yeah, well, he probably hid behind a tree or something. It's so funny that that's the next thing they say. Like, he said that, but the scriptures must be fulfilled, and then it's just basically them going, yeah, and then I ran after that. I left. I was out
So
there.
where's John at? Because
18.
18.
I got it. Then
18
Simon
what?
Peter having a 10. Then Simon Peter having a sword drew it and smote the high priest's servants and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. What research? Then Jesus said unto Peter, put up thy sword into the sheath. The cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? That's it. He didn't talk about him healing it either.
That's why they only gave Luke, because Luke is the only
Luke
one
is the
that
only one that mentions
mentions
healing.
healing of the ear.
Okay, so that's the only part where it
It
says
also
Yes.
mentions him again over by. Give me a second. I saw it a second ago. Where is it?
Well, at least it tells who. Well, we know
one of
who.
the, one
We
of the
know who
servants of
did
the high
it.
priest being his kinsman whose ear Peter cut off, saying, did I not see thee in the garden with him? And Peter's like, no, like, because he cut off the guy's brother's ear or whatever.
That's why they didn't mention the other ones, because Luke was the only one that talked about his ear.
because
being healed.
Luke was the only. All the other disciples ran, I guess.
I guess so, because
And-
he's the only one that mentions the healing of the ear.
And Luke had an outside perspective,
Yep.
so he could learn more about it.
Well,
That's
John knew his
crazy.
That's
name. His
interesting.
name was Malchus. It always seems
Well,
like
yeah, they
John
have-
is kind of prejudiced against Peter in a way. Like, first it's that, and then he beat him to the thing. But in this case, it's him. He said that Peter cut off his ear instead of just one of the disciples. And then he said that, what is it?
Luke
Remember
doesn't
the
even
disciples
mention.
were. The
He didn't
disciples
even-
were all fighting over who was gonna sit
Sit
next to
with-
Jesus in heaven.
Yes,
you know?
Yes.
True. Well, Luke doesn't even say which disciple it was. We knew who it was, but he doesn't even mention. All he talked about was the healing of the ear.
Because he didn't want Peter to come find him.
Yeah. Yeah, then he healed it. It was fine. It was, he
But
healed
then
it.
again, but then after that though, you look down, it talks about Peter. Then they took him and led him and brought him into the high priest's house, and Peter followed far off.
Yeah.
Then he
And it's all
mentions Peter
the-
afterwards.
The night he beat Jesus.
Yes. So that one was only mentioned in Luke. Okay, so the story is mentioned in the other Gospels, but Luke was the only one that recorded the healing of the servant's ear. And he didn't say who it was, but we all knew it was Peter.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, what you talking about? Come here."
Yeah.
But
Seriously though, because it doesn't say specifically how Jesus healed the ear.
No, it
it just
really
says he
doesn't.
touched the ear. So what do you think he did? You think
did he
like
pick it up and
pick it up and do that,
Surely put it
Or
or he
did
touched
he-
it and it grew back?
or did he just like
Well,
touch the ear on the
maybe
ground
Luke
and then it was
didn't-
like?
Luke didn't know
teleported?
probably. Luke didn't know probably. He just didn't know what happened.
Well, none of the other books mention it. So
No.
how do you?
It's only Luke.
I know. He probably didn't know. He just said that.
Do you think after he healed it, there was like still blood on the ground?
No.
Or did the blood go away?
No, it would have. It wouldn't have
It makes you think.
It's not like a time stone.
I don't think, yeah, it wouldn't have. It wouldn't have gone back. It just would have. There would still be blood.
It really makes you think. Like, how did
I've
he
always
heal
wondered about those details. Like, do you think it was like it like dried up like with the issue of blood? Do you
Yeah.
think it like dried up or?
No, he should
Or-
have. Well, he wouldn't have been bleeding after he healed him, but like there was still
Yeah,
be
no,
blood
but like
there.
would there still be blood?
Would there be like a mark to remind him
scar?
that he was healed?
he just always.
what I mean? It makes you-
He
That's
peels
weird,
back his
though.
ear one day and looks at the back and it just says Jesus was here.
But when you think, it says he cut the ear off, so that means he cut it to like
It's
your
like this
ear.
made in China
Yeah, he
stickers,
like
but
cut
it's
the
like
whole.
The whole ear was
Instead of
gone.
Why would you pick the ear though?
he didn't mean to. He was probably trying to cut off his head. But like he.
Well,
Well,
anyway,
no, he was
that's
going
not-
for it. And he had a helmet on. It probably just clang.
Well, the
Um,
servant.
Or
But
Peter,
you know what?
Or Peter was trying to show him how skilled he was with the sword. Next time I'll cut off your head.
Not
you
the
know?
time.
Well,
Yeah.
you also see though,
Consider yourself lucky.
why they were there. But in the midst of them coming to take Jesus away, he still finds a way to heal someone. Still finds a way to work a miracle. In the midst of him knowing that they're about to take him away.
What? And there was like a
And
bunch
his
of
servants
soldiers
and his disciples
around them.
believing him.
There was a bunch of soldiers around. I think that's the dumbest thing Peter could have possibly done. And just like try to just kill one of them, and no one else was doing that.
Well, obviously you know that Peter, he didn't get.
What is interesting about this is it's, and I'm never gonna find it, but there's one thing hold on, it was in the Last Supper, they mentioned something about them having a sword.
Yes, I do remember that. I didn't remember them having swords.
They, man, this is a long Last Supper.
It was the last one.
Yeah, it's like
John has the longest account of it though.
yeah. Let me see here, because I remember it and I wish I knew where it was. Oh, here we go. Nope, that's not it. That's where he actually cut off the guys here. Kept them since my youth up. Zacchaeus. No, this is dealing in the temple. Oh, here we go.
It does. I do remember it talking about swords.
Yeah, it was.
And I believe it was Peter.
Oh, here it is. Here, I got it.
Was it Peter?
It's in Luke.
Luke what?
Well, he said he now. Oh, it's 22 and 35.
Oh, well, right here.
And he said about denying them, and he said, when I think without purse and scrip or shoes, did lack ye anything? And they said nothing. And then he said unto them, but now he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise a scrip. And he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. For I say unto you that that is written must yet be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among the transgressors, for the things concerning me have an end. And they said, Lord, behold, here are 2 swords. And he said unto them, that is enough. It's interesting.
And guess who had the sword?
It's gotta be Peter.
It was Peter.
Peter's the Texan of the group with all the weapons and stuff. He's like, Lord, here are 2 swords, I got them. And then,
right.
I'm gonna cut off this guy's ear, and then he cuts off his ear. And I don't know Jesus.
But okay, so he cut the ear off. Luke gives the account of him healing the ear. What do you think the other centurions and servants thought about that?
About the cutting or the healing?
The healing.
Probably the same thing they thought when they saw any of his miracles. It's a fake.
What if they've never seen any of his miracles?
Well, they were like, oh, that's cool.
Because what if they didn't believe? What if they did see his miracles, but they still didn't believe anything that he done? What if they believed his miracles, but were still unsure about?
The other thing is that
because all the people, the people that they worked for, were always talking down about Jesus and his miracles.
Well, but they also said that when the Pharisees were talking about Jesus, they said he cast out demons through the prince of demons. So it could have been that they started planting that in people's heads.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because, like, take, no offense, Buddhist, if you're watching this, but if, like, you know how they have some of the monks, there are actual miracles that take place there in a lot of ways that are, like, I've never seen them, but they have been reported amazing things that have happened that are miraculous in ways. I don't personally believe God is doing those miracles as far as, like, every 100 years wine, blood turns back into blood or whatever. But there's several things that I'm just like, I don't think God is doing that. I think that could be a demon thing that happens to make them believe that that's true. But I don't personally know anything about it. I'm just saying that can happen where, because the devil has power over the earth, that he can make things appear miraculously.
Yeah.
Things like that, yeah.
Moses.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I think that would be what they probably said, and they probably told Moses, like, even the magicians could have done some of those miracles.
Yeah, but they did. But who won at the end?
True, and Jesus still won in the end, and it was supposed to happen where they wouldn't believe him no matter what. It's like hardening Pharaoh's heart. It wouldn't matter what they did or what plagues happened. After a while, God started hardening his heart instead of him having to do it. Pharaoh didn't have to do anything because God was literally just saying, all right, he's not going to do anything. Because God would harden his heart instead of that.
But it makes you think, because it doesn't always give the perspective of what the crowd.
Yeah.
What the crowd thought about the thing, what they thought
because
about
that wasn't what was.
I'm sure some people thought that was amazing.
That's what.
But when there's a crowd that big, probably the people in the back had no idea what happened, because when you're in a crowd like that and they're all, thirsting for blood, they're all like, yeah, and then there were only probably a few people that actually saw what happened. the fact that Peter didn't die instantly by the soldiers means that not a lot of people saw that happen, because they would have probably just instantly killed him.
That poor soldier, though.
Yeah.
But that soldier, I don't know, he's probably dead now, but
Probably.
you know.
Well, Jesus really.
It's only been like 2,000 years,
right?
But
It was
well,
me.
but his whole life after that,
he probably looked at that ear and was like,
Jesus
you
did
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
What if it like fell off like?
well,
10 years
even
later?
at the end of Jesus' time on earth, they said, truly, this was the Son of God.
Yeah.
Like, what y'all think he was before? Some, fake, I guess.
Yeah.
Everything that he did, it was never for who was watching or who was going to see him do this, or he would be famous. He did what the Lord told him to do,
Right.
in every wise.
Mm-hmm.
And even when he did what his mother told him to do with his first miracle, it was still blessed by the Lord.
It was. It was the miracle, the healings, and all of that was all to give glory to his Father.
It was all for God's glory. It was never for, because that's the difference between
It's like, oh,
Jesus
look
and
whatever,
whatever,
look at
whatever
what I
the
can do.
sorcerers and magicians can do. It's nothing compared to what Jesus can do, because he's not doing it for himself.
Right, he's not. What they're doing is like, oh, look at me, I can do this, I can do that.
Well, I think
what he's doing says,
look at God.
Look at what God can
I think
do.
it is impossible for Jesus to have been crucified if the Pharisees didn't believe in him, or did believe in him, at least a little. I mean, Nicodemus changed his mind, but I think in mass the crowd had to think that he wasn't real to get to that point where they could say, even
Well, yeah,
under
if he was beloved by everyone,
even
then
under
he wouldn't have
urging
had
of
it.
the priests and Pilate, they would have not been like, hey, crucify him. There had to be a point where the Pharisees had twisted everybody into thinking that he wasn't real. Not the crowds that were following him in mass,
No, just
but
all the powerful.
the people in general thought that he was bad. And it's like when you see somebody who's getting accused of something, you're like, for the accusation to happen, some of it must be true. You know, if they're saying, if all these religious people are saying,
high ranked.
yeah, if the people in charge of religion are saying that he is blasphemous, then he must be blasphemous.
That's enough to sway a personal conviction.
Yeah, it's like, I think he could be true, but if these guys are saying it and they are in charge of
Everyone
all
is saying
religion,
it. What if I'm wrong?
right? And there's again the Pharisees and scribes were the highest considered of all religious men, and so if they were saying he's a blasphemous, they're like, well,
Then that means
how do I know that he's not? You know, how I'm just a regular guy. I may have been, tricked by him at one point or another. And so I think that's where it got to, where they got to the point where they were able to say that. Surely there were probably 6 or 7 people in the crowd saying, no, don't give us, give us Jesus. But in mass, the crowd, went against Jesus.
well,
in
it
this
said,
case.
and it even said that they were in the crowd,
Yeah.
telling them to
Oh,
say,
yeah.
give us Barabbas, give us Barabbas.
Well, and think about
So-
that at not even, halfway to this point in Jesus' life, they were saying that they were going to kick people out of synagogues, even if they said they just believed in it. The level of what they could do, probably to the whole crowd, if they were like, not saying that, there was a lot of fear in that, because the synagogue was everything. to
Jesus was a threat to their power,
Yeah.
and they didn't like that, so they got rid
That's
of
why
him.
they thought they got rid of him.
Right, they tried.
True. Well, that just shows too that
And what's funny is he wasn't even really a threat to their power. As far as they're still in power in ways in the Jewish community and in mass, compared to how many people believe in Jesus as the Messiah.
well, but now you hear that some of the Jews are Christians.
Yeah, right.
And so, but it also shows. It also shows too that we need to be careful with what we hear, because hearing all the stuff that goes on, for example, today, all the news and just different things, us Christians have to be careful, because hearing all these people that we thought were supposed to be, that we know that are leaders saying all these things, it makes us question, But if we are trusting God to lead us and to show us what is truth and what is not, then it won't persuade us, because we know what's going on. We know what's about to happen. And like Bill was saying, there's probably only a few people in there that said, give us Jesus and not Barabbas. Let us be that few that say, give me Jesus, because he's the one that's going to help me the whole time, all the way.
And staying in his word is going to counteract
Yes.
whatever we might hear from the billions of people on this earth.
Mm-hmm. And we try to, and we honestly want to trust the ones that are leading us. They're supposed to be our leaders. Sometimes you can't even do that. So you got to depend on Jesus to show you what is true. And here it is. So that is the end of our healings and of Jesus. What we're going to get into next, I was just looking at and just seeing, there's a bunch. There's raising the dead. There is about supplies, and some of them we went over before I went
We
into.
could probably do raising the dead in 1 week. There's only about, I think, 5.
There's
I think
4.
you did, yeah,
There's 4 that is mentioned.
Raise very big.
I mean, counting himself.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
what is
we're
it?
not gonna be-
Miracles of
There were
supply.
only, I think, about 7 or 8 raised from the dead in the whole Bible, but that's like
Yeah.
a very popular thing. Oh, you
But
raised
I
the
think
dead.
what I want to do, because that's what I did with the other ones too. The miracles of supply. We're gonna do the miracles of. Okay, there's the raising of the dead. There's casting out demons. There's supply. There's judgment. There's deliverance, and then there's some other ones.
And then there's like the miracles that prove the divinity of Jesus through God.
Yes, that's exactly what the last one is, and there is a bunch. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
There's
Just
a good-
miracles to be miracles.
Yes. Okay, so next
still
week
got a
we're
lot
going
left.
to go on to the miracles of supply. But what I want to do is take both the Old Testament miracles of supply, because there's some, I'll study out the ones in there, and then we're going to take the New Testament ones and compare them.
So next week is miracles
Of supply,
In
yes.
the Old Testament.
Old Testament. We'll start with the Old Testament ones.
Sure.
Just like
It
that.
And
doesn't
then,
matter.
like we did last time.
I'll just start with, like, you know, Old Testament. I'll just say miracles of supply or whatever when I do it.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah.
Alright.
That's what I did with this one. I
this
did
one,
miracles.
I think
Yeah.
we're on. This is. I think it's part 8. Right
Yeah,
now.
because we went through. That was a
Yeah.
good,
Healing
big
miracles
old.
with Jesus. We're on. I think we're on part 8. This one is
From
part 8.
just in the New
Yes.
Testament.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
just. So, we will start the miracles of supply next week, but we're going to start in the Old Testament before we get to the New Testament, because there's several in the Old Testament that you can compare to the ones in the New Testament that they weren't Jesus's, but God. You know, just we're looking at the difference between the two, the way the miracles and stuff were done. So we're going to talk about Moses and who else?
Elijah and
Elijah and Elisha, and just different ones like that. So we hope that you will join us again next week for our Sunday school class, and see you in our Sunday morning worship service. Have a great rest of your day.